నా వాయిస్ వినిపిస్తుంది కదా హనుమంత్?
వినిపిస్తుంది.
ఓకే. Yeah. So today we will discuss entirely on SQL. Okay. As I mentioned, SQL is so much required for data engineers because we are always going with data and we store our data into different format and different places. One of that is definitely database. And of course, even you are not directly loading the data into database, but in data engineering, right? Maybe in Azure, if you store your data into ADLS, Azure Data Lake Storage, and on top of that, we can create tables on it. Okay, so that we can work just like SQL table. Okay, so that option is also there. So whatever the reasons, but definitely we need to be good at SQL part. Okay, so that is the reason we just embed this SQL as well into our training program. So before going into actual SQL statements and all, maybe we'll just need to understand few theoretical part. Okay, what is data, types of data? So we have discussed this already. Obviously, data indicates some strong point to take some decisions. So for that reason, we are capturing all the data and providing that data in terms of business metrics so that they can be able to extract the business decisions out of it. So that's what we have seen in the first discussions. So something like this. So to do that, definitely the data should be at one place in a particular way, the way business users are expecting. So that's how we process it and we provide the data to them. And at broad level, we have three kinds of data, three types of data. That is structured, semi-structured, and unstructured. So structured is whatever we have seen, something like anybody is waiting. No, right? Okay. So structured is tables. So whatever we are going to look at now. So it will be in terms of database, tables, columns, something like that. So if your data is in that particular tabular format, then we call that as completely structured data. And semi-structured data is a JSON format, XML format. So those comes under semi-structured. So we have already seen. So that is the reason I'm just taking forward. And unstructured is a completely, it's a kind of NLP, text, audio, video, images. So whatever the logs or scan data. So all that comes under unstructured data. So nowadays with Python introductions or the way we are evolving into the technologies, right? So semi-structured and unstructured also taking a lot of part for taking the business decisions. Okay, so earlier, right, we most of the time we work with structured and sometimes it is semi-structured. But nowadays, with the introduction of artificial intelligence and generative AI, which generates natural language processing and all. So this unstructured data also is getting a lot of significance. Okay. Yeah. So that's about these three kinds of data. So how we manage semi-structured data and these things, we will see in the next slide, maybe next sessions. So whatever you are talking about SQL, tables, all those things comes under structured. So the structured data, so SQL itself, for the naming itself, it's a structured query language. So we query based on structured data. So that is called this SQL. Okay, so semi-structured, of course, we deal this with this one inside PySpark, Databricks, and as well as this is a problem. We'll talk about inside ADF and as well as ADB, Azure Databricks also. And unstructured data, we will see this in data artificial intelligence. Okay. My sincere request, can you please guys log in by on time? I'm not sure what other priorities you have. Please log in by 9. When I say 9, 9 or 8:58 or 8:59. Okay, so whatever the priorities you have, so please put that aside and please log in. So it's kind of disturbance to me and as well as other fellows. Please do that. Yeah. Um, okay, so that's about types of data. So any questions for me so far? Okay. So earlier days, right? Maybe not earlier days, maybe even now you can discuss about this. When you are doing some business, any business, maybe being it logistics or retail, banking, whatever it is, when you're performing your day-to-day business, will be holding some kind of data. So obviously you'll be having a lot of transactions on everyday basis in any domain, being it retail, banking, whatever it is, you'll be getting a lot of data throwing away from your day-to-day business. Okay, so that wherever you are storing the data, right? So that we call it as OLTP, online transactional processing systems. Okay, so these OLTP systems, maybe we can have this. We'll be having these OLTP systems as maybe our source systems. Why? Because we'll be receiving that source data and based on business metrics, business users expectations. Okay, so based on this, we'll receive total revenue or sales. So how do you get this data? Definitely, we'll not be getting this information straight away. Okay, so nobody will tell you, no information or a system will give you this information straight away. So what you want to do, you have to extract the data from your source systems. Source systems are nothing but your day-to-day operational data. So that is your OLTP. So inside that, suppose if you take any example, Walmart, take Walmart. So that suppose it has some 10,000 stores across some region. Okay, so whatever the data is, transactions are happening at customer level, transaction level, or product level, whatever it is. So everything will get the data from all those 10,000 stores, and that will be stored into OLTP. So when you're doing this metrics, so what our task is, we need to extract the data from OLTP systems, and based on your metric, you have to write your logic. Maybe if I say something like, maybe I'll take some simple one. Sales per employee. Maybe if you take this one, so each employee, maybe they'll be having some tag ID associated with them. And what are the sales for each employee? So for that, what we need to do? So whatever the sales done by that particular employee, we'll need to group and we need to take the total sales amount and we need to publish that as one kind of report or one kind of data we need to produce. Okay, so similarly, customer segmentation. It is something like you will be having maybe some millions of customers for your business. Maybe it's bank or retail, whatever it is. Like again, okay. So based on their spending amount. Maybe if it is a retail domain, I'm considering spending amount. So they are spending on average maybe 10K per month or some 50K per month. So based on that amount, I want to consider them as a high priority customer or medium or low level, something like that. Okay. So based on this, maybe I'll take some decision. Who is this Shiva? Can you please go on mute? Yeah. Uh, based on based on that, maybe I'll provide some opportunities or some offers to that particular customer. So maybe that is the reason the business is looking for that particular customer segmentation metric. Okay, so how do you do that? Obviously, you need to gather the information from OLTP systems, and then you need to maybe by product wise or by parent product wise, maybe for sports item, how the customer is spending the amount, or at governments level, how the customer is spending. So maybe based on total customer level, I want to make the segmentation, and at the same time, the combination of customer and uh, product category level. Maybe for particular customers, how they are spending at sports and how they are spending at FMCG, something like that. Okay, so all those things, how do you get? Obviously, you need to get it from OLTP systems, OLTP systems, and then you need to apply your own logic. So based on your business use case, we will apply our logic over here after extraction from this particular part, right? So immediately we will be doing transformations. So transformations include anything. Maybe when I say customer total sales, so obviously I need to group based on customer ID, and then I need to do the summation of the total amount. Okay, so after that, maybe I'll load into somewhere. So where do you load? That depends on your, again, your decision, like architecture decision. Maybe it is pointing to some data warehousing system, okay, or some ADLS, or some SQL other database, or some S3 bucket, Amazon S3 bucket. So that depends on their interest. Okay, so what tools they use, all those things will be that managerial decision, so nothing will be in our hands, right? So based on that, we just need to follow our logic and we need to store into this particular part. So this is how this OLTP, I just would like to let you know what is OLTP, online transactional processing system. It's a day-to-day business data, day-to-day transactional data will be stored into this OLTP systems. Okay, so with that, whatever the transformer data, according to your business rules, business use cases metrics, will be processed that particular source data. Maybe it will be having multiple tables. Okay, multiple tables or multiple files. So when I say multiple tables, multiple files, maybe if you say retail domain, maybe I'll be having multiple kinds of data. In the sense, you'll be having sales persons a file or table, transactions data, and maybe products data, and then customers data, then regions data. So likewise, you may have a lot of different kinds of data. Okay, sales representative data, and then transactions, and then customers. So likewise, maybe you'll be having n number of tables here. If it is bank, right, you'll be having again customers, transactions, cards, loans, debit card, and then demat account details, savings account, current account. So likewise, you'll be having n number of source information available in your online transactional processing systems. So from there, you need to extract and you need to take the data into your target system. Okay, so your target system, as I mentioned, it may be a data warehousing system. So earlier days, right, it most of the time we'll be loading our data into data warehousing systems. So data warehousing is nothing but it's a big database. It's a big database. So if you say Oracle or Teradata, so it will hold maybe some 100 terabytes of data, 1,000 terabytes of data, something like that. So they'll assign it to it, and we call that as data warehousing system. So after all the processing of our things, and we load that final data into this data warehousing system. So as I mentioned, right, your target may be anything. So on top of this, the reporting system will come into picture. So the reporting. So obviously your business users are interested to take some decisions by looking at some reports. Okay, so they'll not look at your data in Notepad or WordPad or Excel. No, so they'll be looking at your data is something like this. So just by looking at this, I can understand. Even as end user, as a simple person, right? Even you are interested to look your some data, something like this, instead of English words or numerical numbers. Okay, so same way business users, they're most of the time they're interested in the dashboards, reports, something like this. Okay, so how do they uh, how do they develop that reports and dashboards? So they'll be using some reporting tools. Okay, or you can say BI tools, and they'll be extracting the data from this and they construct some logic. Okay, so earlier we'll be having maybe very early days we'll be having something like Cognos, business objects, MicroStrategy. So likewise, you will be having some reporting tools, maybe early 2010, 2015. So during that period, so these are the reporting tools which most of the business users have used. Okay, so nowadays it's comes under maybe you can say business analytics as well. Okay, so you can say anything. Okay, so we'll be using Power BI, Looker BI, and I guess we have Talent or Tableau. So likewise, you'll be having multiple business analytics tools, okay, or reporting tools or BI tools, you can say anything. So which will pull the data from this particular system, from your target system, and they'll be writing some logic. It's not that just by hitting this, they will not be able to generate the dashboards or reports, whatever we have seen. Okay, so few things. It is if it is very simple, I have some data here and I just would like to represent that into some pictorial representation. Okay, so then it may be some straightforward steps you can write inside your Power BI and you can be able to see your beautiful diagrams there. But sometimes from this particular data as well, I want to apply minor some simple logic to develop your dashboards and reports. So to do that, you have to use something called DAX. So whatever the programming you write inside your Power BI, especially local BI, I'm not very sure, but I just uh, gave you the list of reporting tools. That's all. So whatever the logic you are writing inside this Power BI, maybe you can call that as DAX programming. Okay. So this is again, it has its own syntax and format of writing your logic. Okay, so but the concept will be same. Like you'll be having if conditions, group by logic, or something like that. Okay, so this is not in our bucket because our scope will be until this part extracting the data from your source systems, doing your transformations, and then loading into your target system. So until this part, this is our as part of data engineer role. So once this is done and once the data is available, maybe the reporting teams, BI teams are different, and they'll be able to extract the data from this and they can be able to generate it. And sometimes, right? Sometimes, very rare scenario, so few people they can be able to do straight from this part till this Power BI. So they are good at Azure data engineering and as well as Power BI. They'll be able to do this end-to-end process. Maybe they'll be doing this data engineering part, and as well as after this, they can be able to generate some Power BI reports as well. Okay, but that is very rare, very rare case. And also another part, maybe I just would like to bring that up to you now. We are learning Azure Data Factory, Azure Databricks now. Okay, so how we are learning this? By using Azure Data Factory service, which is being provided by Azure, we are learning Azure Data Factory. So similarly, Azure Databricks, right? So Databricks is a third-party tool. It's not Azure proprietary tool. So which is been providing by Databricks Corporation, and we are just integrating that Databricks with Azure. So same way Databricks is available in your AWS, GCP. Okay, it has its own stand. Okay, so without any cloud also you can be able to write something inside your Databricks. So even nowadays Databricks is also doing a lot of research in terms of artificial intelligence integration. Okay, so they have introduced few concepts in Databricks with AI integration. So of course we'll discuss that. Jenny, SQL editor, all those things we'll discuss as part of Databricks. Okay. So coming back to this discussion, Azure Data Factory, Azure Databricks. So we are learning this independently, right? And Microsoft, they came up with some service, okay, that is called Microsoft Fabric. So Fabric is newly introduced by Microsoft. Newly in the sense it's not months, maybe a few years ago, maybe 2 years, 3 years, 4 years ago, they have introduced this Fabric service. It's a it's basically it's a unified solution providing by Microsoft. Unified solution in the sense, so you no need to use Azure Data Factory, Azure Databricks, even Power BI as well. Okay, so Power BI, you no need to use this independently and independent services. So all these things go embedded into Microsoft Fabric. Okay, so I have not promised you during the demo, but I will try to explain you what is this fabric and how to use this fabric as well. Okay, yeah, they have embedded all the logic into single platform, that is Microsoft Fabric. Okay, so why I'm saying this different and this is separate, few projects, right? So the new projects, maybe they are introducing this Microsoft Fabric and they are developing the logic inside the fabric. So there is a slight difference. If you know, if you're good at this Azure Data Factory and Azure Databricks, you can be able to easily write inside the fabric. Okay, this is just combination, right? So you can easily do that, but there are slight difference, maybe the configuration settings, the storage. So all that will be very easy in Fabric when compared to writing the logic and thinking in terms of these services. Okay, so that is the reason I'm saying this different separately, and this is separate. Why? Because most of the projects are still with Azure Data Factory, Azure Databricks, so they have not introduced to Fabric. So that time you may feel difficult if there is no Fabric. So that is the reason you just need to understand this, and then we need to come back to this. Okay, yeah. So I'm just going back to the original discussion. So this is how your flow will be, and this is what I would like to say about this OLTP database management system and OLAP. OLAP is nothing but online analytical platform. So that is nothing but your this one reporting, business analytics or business intelligence, whatever you can say. So that comes under this OLAP, online analytical processing system. Okay. So any questions for me? Okay. See, one more thing, maybe I would like to tell you. This is how actually you need to learn. It's not that if I give you textbook definition of OLTP, will have that will not help you. That will help you only for writing examinations. Okay, I'm bringing this up to you from the actual project perspective, and with my experience, I'm giving you the subject. Okay, so try to adapt that. So don't think that whatever I'm saying, if you're not understanding, that means you have to increase your learning speed, or you have to increase your efforts. That's all. In other way around, right? Don't ask me to give some very layman explanation. So that will not help you. It's not that whatever you like, don't learn whatever you like, whatever industry is expecting. Okay, so learn that part. Okay, so that's how your learning should be. Yeah. So that's about this concept. And then one second. And then before cloud, right? Maintenance of this data warehousing systems or maintenance of this tools. Okay, and then performance. It is a bit challenging to the business. Okay, why? Because if you want to work as a data engineer in the sense the legacy tools, right? Maybe if you take ETL tools or reporting tools. So here I mentioned reporting tools, right? Earlier, Cognos, BO, and MicroStrategy. So likewise, Here, whatever you are performing, right? So whatever you are doing. So as part of data engineer, what do? You do extraction, transformation, and load. So this is our ultimate goal. So during this, what is your journey? How you are going to do that? Maybe while extracting, how do you extract? Okay, so do you extract a full volume file or incremental file? We'll discuss what is full volume incremental. And while extracting, how do you extract? And what are the different transformations? What are the cleansing activities we perform? Okay, and where do you load? And how do you load? Okay, so where do you load? It is simple. Maybe what system you are expecting to load, and what are the different tables or files you want to load, and are you going to overwrite the existing data? Maybe say for example, you are extracting transactional data. So transactional data, day to day, are you going to overwrite? Overwrite in the sense, maybe I'm having 1 million records in that particular table, and now I got some 1,000 records. So are you going to erase that 10 million records and load this 1,000 records into this? Or you just need to append to the existing data? Or are you going to do merge? So what do you mean by merge? Merge in the sense, maybe based on say particular key, say for example, customer data. So I'm having 1 million customers in my target table. And now I got some 100 customers information. So out of 100 customers, I'm already 90 customers are already existing in my target system. Only 10 new customers came into picture. So in that case, I don't want to append or I don't want to overwrite, but I want to do merge. So that means if the data is already exists, that means if customer is already existing, update the data. Okay, update the customer data in my target system. If it is not available, so that means if it is new, just insert into my table. So this process we call it as upset. Okay, this mechanism is called upset. Update else insert. Update if the data is already existing, else insert directly that particular record into my target system. So that's how like what, yeah, Mahesh.
Sorry, are you sharing your screen? Because we can't able to see your screen.
It's a damn shit.
Yeah, sorry.
Hmm. Okay. I can't do anything. If it is 5 minutes, then I would have recapped everything, but I can't do anything. So
Yes.
everything I'm writing here, explaining OLTP, this is the systems and these are the transformations and this is the load. Okay, so and then I said reporting tools. These are the reporting tools and reporting business analytics and BI. So these are the nowadays we are using these tools. Okay, and when I said data engineering part, so this is what we are doing: extraction, transformation, load, and merge. That's what I'm saying. Existing, new. If existing, update. If it is new, insert. Okay, yeah. So yeah, this entire process, whatever we are performing, that we call it as ETL, extraction, transformation, and loading. So for ETL, we will be having a set of tools. Okay, so nowadays most of the things we use through this is PySpark nowadays. Okay, so this is nothing but whatever you are writing inside your Databricks. Okay, inside the Databricks, we will be writing PySpark code and we will be taking care of this entire part, extraction, transformation, and loading. So earlier we will be having different tools like Informatica, Ab Initio, Data Stage, and lot of like Talent or Tableau. Talent. Okay, so likewise, you'll be having so many ETL tools which exist. So earlier days, right? So whenever they want to make some business system, so what they need to do is they need to take the licenses of this ETL tools and then reporting tools license, and they need to maintain inside Oracle database or Teradata database. So that is also very costly. and maintenance also very costly when we are talking about SQL or Teradata, sorry, Oracle or Teradata. Okay, so with the introduction of this cloud computing, so before cloud computing, of course, we have discussed about Hadoop as well, right? So before cloud computing, a few years back, maybe early 2010 or 2012 or even before, we have this Hadoop came into picture, Hadoop system. So Hadoop system, it talks about or it handle what are the limitations inside of your legacy systems. So inside the legacy system, you have this cost volume. So if you get huge volume of data, your legacy systems, ETL systems or reporting systems that sometimes it took a lot of time to process it, and sometimes it failed to process the data. Okay, and also varieties of data, right? So earlier, as I mentioned, structured data, it's obviously we were able to manage this structured data, and semi-structured data also, yes, we can be able to do that, but unstructured data there is no point of handled earlier. Okay, so with Hadoop introduction, so we were able to handle these varieties of data. So that's why we call volume and variety inside the Hadoop system. Okay, and also in terms of speed also Hadoop system improved when compared to your legacy systems. Okay, even Hadoop, yeah, it has its own limitations. Okay, and that's where this cloud computing came into picture. So cloud computing, it completely use Spark architecture. It's a distributed architecture and in-memory computation. So in-memory computation in the sense, whatever the logic you write, that logic will be computation done in memory. In memory in the sense, okay, maybe you can call it as RAM or cache, whatever it is, right? So in memory computation, so that is the reason this is speed of your uh, cloud computing is 10x faster than Hadoop systems. So that's what industry says. It's a 10x faster than Hadoop systems. Okay, so that's where we got this cloud computing came into picture, and nowadays there is no point of using Hadoop systems in your Azure projects. Okay, yeah. So that's how these cloud computing came into picture. And as I mentioned, ETL and reporting. So those are the two different phases of your uh, data analytics part. So one, data engineering, which gets data into desired format into the systems. And the second thing is data analytics part, business intelligence part. In that, they'll be using some reporting tools, BI tools, and they pull out the reports or dashboards out of it. And I have mentioned one thing while extraction, right? There is a concept of full volume or incremental data. So that means, suppose you are processing some data, maybe assume that you are processing some customers data or some transactional data. Okay, so while doing this, I know that my customer data, transactional data, region data, whatever the data, I'm having this information in my OLTP systems. In my OLTP systems, I'm having this data. Okay, so every day, so whatever the logic you are writing, right? Maybe they're interested in this particular metrics. So whatever the metrics, whatever the logic you are writing, so you'll be designing your application maybe inside your ETL tool or inside your PySpark or ADF, wherever you are writing, you'll be writing or you will design your code, and obviously you will productionize this. You'll productionize this particular project. Okay, and after that, what do? You'll be scheduling this. So why do you need schedule? You have to take care every day. If you take Walmart or if you take any HDFC bank or anything, so every day they do their business, right? So our ultimate goal is based on their interest. We need to take data every day from their Walmart 10,000 stores, or HDFC Bank maybe 10,000 branches. I need to extract the data, and after that, I need to transform the data based on their business use case, and then I need to load into a particular system so that your Power BI will come into picture, and they'll pull from the data from this load, and this will generate reports on daily basis. Okay, on daily basis, and business users will be using it. Okay, so that is the reason we will schedule it. Okay, if you take simple example, right? Maybe nowadays you also might aware or heard about this part. If you take any IT company, software company, you'll be having some lakhs of employees or thousands of employees who are working in this particular IT company. Okay, so nowadays people in the sense maybe management or HR, they are looking at employee data, how they are working in their projects. Okay, and when are they are doing check-in, and when they are doing this checkout. Okay, and how much time they are spending at ODC. So inside the ODC, how much time they are spending. Okay, so if they are taking long breaks, how many breaks they are taking. So something like that, they are tracking this information, and also few organizations, right? So when you are using your laptop, so what website you have opened, and inside this website, maybe you have opened some Mintra. Okay, so inside this Mintra, how much time you spent your time, and you have opened ClickBuzz. So inside the ClickBuzz, how much time you have spent in that particular page, and inside ADF, how much time you have spent. So likewise, they are spending a lot of checks on the employee. Okay, so to get this information, right? So definitely they'll be writing some code. Okay, so how do they get this information? Every day they have some 1 lakh employees. Okay, so they want to get some information. Maybe in report, they want to get top 10 employees who are spending a lot of break time. Okay, so to get this, obviously from this 1 lakh, maybe each employee, each day, they have some 6 entries. Entries in the sense, he checked in, and he took the break. So to take the break, they need to do checkout. Again, they came back to ODC, they do check-in, again checkout, check-in, checkout. So likewise, on average, 6 entries, I'll be getting 6 lakh records for that particular employee for this. So maybe to get this top 10 employees, what do you need? So you have to write some code to get that information, and we'll pull out this information, and you can be able to give this information as a report to your business, like maybe HR or manager. So when I say business user here, so here HR and manager is your client, your business person who is looking for this particular information. Okay, so likewise, here schedule in the sense, once you write your code, right? So every day at maybe 10 p.m., 11 p.m., I want to execute this particular report. So this is what schedule is. So at 11 p.m., whatever the code I have written for this, I'll be executing at 11 p.m. and generate this report, and will give it this to you HR or manager. Okay, so same way, this is just our knowing scenario. But if you see this slide, if you see this slide, so these are the different metrics what business is expecting to improve their business, right? So why is store A is doing better than store B? So you need to get some metrics. So as a end user, as a customer, or as a software developer, you will not know how to get this information. Why is store A doing better than store B? So as a developer, you will not know how to get this done. But as a business, so I'm the business owner, and I recruited some architects. Okay, so they know how to get this information. So that's where they sit on the requirements, and then they'll come up with some documentation. So the documentation will tell you what is the business expectation, and then what you need to do as a data engineer, what you need to do to get it done. And they'll give you some mapping document, mapping rules. So all those things, as a data engineer, you need to understand that scenario. So they'll give you some business terms and their business expectation, and you need to write your logic. So here their expectation is something, their expectation is this. Okay, but since this is we know that this business, business in the sense, IT company employees, what is this check-in, check-out, and what is this entries. Okay, so what they're expecting, since it is general topic, you'll know what needs to be done, and you can be able to perform, and you can be able to give this information to them. If it is something like this in subject oriented, okay, then you will not know what exactly you need to do. So their architects will come into picture, and they will let you know what needs to be done to achieve this particular business use case. Okay, so that is how. Yeah. So coming back to this discussion, so you have to schedule. Maybe they are expecting this particular report, whatever their report they are looking for. So they are expecting that maybe every day at 10 a.m. or weekly basis. So how they are expecting. So based on that, we need to schedule it by writing the code. Okay. So that will be done. Okay. So while doing this, right, are you going to extract full data? Maybe inside your code, are you going to extract the full data? Maybe customers data, I'm having some 10 million customers in my system. Do you want to extract all 10 millions every day? So every day in the sense, your code will extract the data from customers, and then you will compare something. So if you see customer segmentation, right? So I want to see the customer segmentation on everyday basis, right? So definitely your code has to execute on top of the data. So when you are talking about data, are you going to extract the full volume? Is that required for your business? That means, are you going to extract all 10 billion records every day? Okay, so what is there? What is there in it? Maybe I can execute the total data every day, and I can process it, right? We can't do because performance comes into picture. So extracting the total data unnecessarily will give you a lot of cost, being it in legacy systems or in cloud as well. So cloud, of course it is. Cloud, I told you, right? Every click or every storage, when you store, it will cost you something. When you extract, it will cost you something. So when you are extracting 10 billion records, it will cost you a lot. Okay, so instead of that, maybe whatever the data I got today, maybe for my store, some thousand customers came for transactions, and they purchased something. So if that is the case, I will extract only this thousand related customer information, and I will apply some transformation on top of it. I don't want to extract all 10 billion customers details every day. Okay, so whatever the customers, active customers today, only I'll extract them and do some transformations. If this is the case, if it is extracting full, so that is called full volume extraction or full volume load. Okay, so same way, if you are extracting or if you are interested only some part, whatever the data you got for today, so that is called incremental data or delta data, whatever you call, you can call it as incremental data or delta data. Okay, so that is about full volume or incremental data. And just observe, I'm not interested to just tell you what is data, types of data, or what is OLTP and what is full volume or anything. I just want to give you overall idea. Okay, so from here I went to somewhere. I went to schedule. I went to some example, and then I have explained a lot of other things in between, right? So try to understand those concepts. So what is full volume and what is incremental? When you just search this inside YouTube, you will get beautiful videos. So they'll explain a lot better than me. Okay, they will explain you what is full volume and incremental data a lot better than me. But I am interested. You have to learn these kind of things like what we are discussing, like what I'm saying, business users. That terminology is important. So try to follow that. Okay, it's not that just the definitions or just the concepts. Okay, so any questions so far until this part? And whatever I'm explaining in terms of this part or SQL, right? So just to understand what is OLTP, data warehousing, and different concepts inside the data warehousing and the concepts of OLAP, that concept itself, maybe we can discuss 10 hours or 15 hours of time. So that is a vast concept, and that is not required for us. All right. So likewise, SQL also you can spend maybe 4 5 months of time. Okay, simply on that particular SQL itself. Okay, but we have a lot of things to cover, right? And also this is not required much for us. Whatever is required to what point, only that point we'll discuss. Okay, since I'm not hiring anything, maybe I'm going further with SQL. Okay, SQL, structured query language. So our data landed on database in the sense maybe in the tables. And now I want to write some logic. Maybe I want to see the data or I want to update the data. I want to perform something on this structured data, whatever is available in this particular tabular format. Okay, so to do that, maybe you need to understand few things, maybe few theoretical part before writing the actual SQL statements. Okay, so here, right, maybe um, yeah, I forgot to mention this server. Okay, so basically there is a logical division, logical grouping when you're talking about structured data and inside this particular databases. Okay, so first and foremost thing, you'll be having server. So inside the server is a kind of logical grouping of your entire objects are entities. Okay, so anything, objects or entities, meaning maybe it's a database, tables, whatever it is. Okay, so your entire organization may have a single server or multiple servers based on their volume and based on their security reasons. So they'll come up with a single server or multiple servers. So that depends on their decision. Okay. So inside the server, maybe they'll be having different databases. So different databases in the sense, uh, as a retail domain, I want to maintain maybe sales for sales. I want to maintain some database for employees. I want to maintain different database. Okay. So if your intention is something like that, maybe they'll create different logical grouping that is called database. Okay. And again, inside the database, you'll be having one more layer that is called schema. So schema in the sense, maybe I'll come up with some real world example. The same example, what I have taken, a college. Okay, so inside the college, maybe I would like to maintain a library. Okay, so the this Excel. Okay, so inside a college, I would like to maintain a library. Okay, so this library should contain mechanical books, civil engineering books, and then computer engineering books. Okay, and then maybe inside the mechanical, I'm not sure about the different subjects inside mechanical. Maybe computers, I'm having AIML books, DBMS books, OS related one, maybe some Unix related, and maybe some Java related. So likewise, I'm having different kinds of books. Okay, so in this case, when you compare this with your this structure, server, database, schema, and table. So consider this is a table. So table in the sense your table, customer table. If you say customer table, inside the customer table, maybe I'm having customer ID, customer name, customer phone number, customer address. So likewise, I'll be having some columns. So this is called columns. So inside the columns, you'll be having actual data. So the customer data will be represented by this particular attributes that is called columns. Okay, columns or fields or attributes, anything you can call. Okay. So this is your table. So same way inside your AIML book, you'll be having your content in the sense this one. So content will be available inside your AIML. So this maybe I can call it as table. So this is the table one. Okay. And where do you have this table? Maybe I will be doing this some logical grouping. Okay, so that logical grouping, maybe I can make it so instead of this one, right? Maybe I'll be having one more columns left. Sorry, right. So for computer engineering, maybe I'll say programming or something, web design. Okay, so likewise, I can make a logical grouping again. So instead of creating straight away IML, DBMS, maybe here I can say UI, UX, something, right? So you'll be having multiple technologies. Okay, so with that, maybe instead of creating inside the computer, instead of creating this, maybe I can create one more rack inside this computer wing. I'll be creating programming something, web design something, maybe some other division, some other books. So this is called schema. Okay, so this division, we can call it as a schema. And at the same time, we have database. So here, mechanical engineering and other parts, right? So those I can call it as a database. Okay, and this is a server. So this is server. So inside my library, I'm having different departments, and for each one, right? Maybe again, instead of combining everything, I want to divide this into programming. Maybe if you go to any library, general library, right? Maybe all sports books you can see one place, and all motivational speakers books at one place. So that is nothing but it's a logical division. So that is called schema. So same way, inside your project, inside your domain, maybe I would like to maintain all sales related information. I would like to place at one database. Inside that, maybe I can create one schema, and I'll divide my tables according to my intention, and I'll maintain that. So the way you are maintaining over here. So the server will be holding your database. So the databases will be holding divided into schemas, and inside the schema you will maintain your tables. So if there is no schema, I don't want to make anything. I want to combine all the books. So that means you will not be having any schema. So that called default schema. So you will be maintaining all at one place. Okay, so that is how you can think of this one. Okay, so in this case, right, uh, are you expecting in the same way? No, it's this guy intention, this guy interest, maybe college administrator. So they want to maintain library three different buildings instead of single building. First floor this, second floor this, third floor this. So instead of that, I want to maintain one building for mechanical library and another building for the civil, and one more for computer. So if that is the case, you'll be having three servers. One server which talks about maybe sales department, another server maybe talks about HR department, finance department, something like that. Okay. And do you want to maintain these many databases? No, maybe my data is simple. I don't have hundreds or thousands of books. I'm having some 10 books. So for 10 books, why do I need to create multiple floors? I can store them into single floor, right? So in that case, I don't want multiple databases. In single database, I can maintain my total data or total books. So that depends on your volume of data, the way you group your things. So yesterday you have seen, right? Inside ADF, I have created a folder, and inside the folder, I'm creating data sets and pipelines. Okay, so that is just a logical grouping. You'll just understand easily, and maintenance also very easy when you divide that grouping. Otherwise, you can create all pipelines at one place, but you'll not be having any tracking. Okay, so that is logical grouping. So same way we do the same thing in database as well. Okay, it is just for your understanding, but when you are working, you will not be creating, you will not be having access, especially on database. We will be having least privileges. Why? Because this is the actual phase, actual data where the business will interact with the database, and they'll pull out the data, right? So this is entire system, entire heart of your business. So that is the reason they'll provide least privileges, only select access. Sometimes they'll be giving only select access, only you can view, you can't perform anything on databases. Okay, so that's how you are think. You need to think in terms of server, database, schema, tables, columns. Okay, and once they create it, right, so they'll build some relationship between the tables. So relationship in the sense, maybe you have a bank, and you have customer table, account table, transaction table, or loan table, something like that. So you have a customer table. So as I mentioned, account table, transactions table, maybe branch, and then loan, something like this. I have multiple tables defined for my banking domain project. So obviously you have to build some relationship. So one famous example for is employee and department table, right? So the employees, whoever is joined into your organization, they should belong to some department. Okay, so there should be some relationship between your employee table and department table. So same way, when some business comes into picture and they build some data model, you can call that as a data model. Okay, so when you build a data model, so who will be doing this data model? Data modeler will be taking care of this data model. So data model in the sense, so I have customer table, account table, these things, right? So what kind of information is required inside this customer table and account? Maybe I need account ID, account to type, and then what is the limit. So all those kind of information, what is the transaction ID, transaction amount, transaction date, quantity. So those things, maybe all those things will be decided by your data modeler, maybe along with your architects. Okay, so they'll come up with this information. And on top of it, what is the relation between these things? So maybe customer related to account. Yes, a customer may have multiple accounts. So I'm talking about bank, right? So as a customer, you may have an account. One second, please. Maybe I'm having one savings account, maybe one current account, maybe one dependent account I have opened for my kid. So likewise, one customer may have multiple accounts. So one customer may have do multiple transactions. So these transactions may related to few accounts. Okay. So where those transactions done in a particular branch? So where do you have these accounts in a particular branch? And do we have any relationship between account and loan? Maybe yes. So I have taken a personal loan which is being associated with some savings account. Okay. So maybe I have taken a loan, but I am not having any association with my account. So that means maybe I have taken a loan in HDFC Bank. Okay, but but it's not associated with my HDFC Bank savings account. Maybe I have taken this and I gave ICICI Bank as reference to my loan, and I got this loan from this particular one. So you are seeing that, right? Maybe you have taken loan from Tata Capital, but you'll not be having any relation with your Tata Capital. Maybe you are not having savings account or anything inside your loan. So how do you know that? All that is called your business. That is called business information or functional knowledge. Okay, so functional knowledge. So apart from technical knowledge, functional knowledge is also very much important. Technical knowledge in the sense what we are learning now. So as a data engineer, you are learning maybe SQL, Python, data factory. So that comes under technical knowledge. Apart from that, functional knowledge in the sense how your data is representing in your domain, in your projects. So you need to get that details as well. Okay. So this will be done by your data modelers, and you need to take care of everything while designing your applications. Okay. So that's how they build this relationship between the tables. And then data types. This will be there for every programming language. Any programming language you can consider. You can have this data types. Even in SQL, you have data types like string. String we call it as a varchar. Varchar is something characters. Okay, so if you are representing some characters, that field or column, we define that as a varchar. And if it is numerical, maybe I'm having integer as that one, and maybe date as date column. So likewise, we'll be having data types inside your SQL. Okay, and yeah, this is what I'm saying. Maybe few of you guys, maybe uh, whoever is going very deeper in a subject, maybe you'll think when I say varchar, there will be something called varchar 2. There will be something called char. What are the difference between varchar and varchar 2? Don't stuck there. Okay, that is not at all required for us. Okay, so that's what I am saying. So don't spend time at unnecessary point. Okay, so that is data types. Any questions for me so far? If not, then I'll jump into Azure related database. And also, maybe for few guys, whatever I'm saying may be heavy. Whoever is not working or whoever is just college graduated, maybe it is heavy. Okay, so this is how you need to learn. Okay, it's not that learning your just technical part may not help you. So what is going around and inside your projects, you need to understand that. So that is the reason I'm just saying, though it is heavy, it will be helpful for you. Okay, so remember that. Yeah. So with that, maybe I'm taking you guys to Azure database, Azure SQL database, and how do you interact with Azure SQL database, and how do you use this Azure Studio? Azure Studio is one of the service providing by Azure. Okay. And these are just interfaces. See, when you are writing your SQL, right? You can interact with tables and write SQL in many ways. Maybe you can use some editors, SQL editors, Toad, Oracle SQL Assistant. So likewise, you'll be having multiple editors to write your SQL. So how do you write SQL queries? That is common wherever you go. So whether you are writing inside Azure SQL database, Azure Studio, or Toad or SQL Assistant, so wherever you write, the concept is same, but the interface, uh, that editor might be different in GUI. That's all. Otherwise, everything is exactly the concept is same. Okay. So, but in Azure, we'll be using these things: Azure SQL Database and Azure Studio. So I'm just going there. Azure SQL Database we have created yesterday. Okay, so this one, TU transdb. Sorry, not transdb. Maybe I'll be using 123. I'll remove this. So if something is not using, just remove it. So it will cost you in a cloud. Delete. So I'm interested into this. So I'm opening this. And from here, right, as I mentioned, for every Azure resource service, you'll be having some tabs over here. So inside the overview, you can see to which resource group this belongs to, what is the subscription ID. So all those things you can see over here. And then activity log. So when this particular service got created, if you make some changes into this particular one, so that you can see over here. So likewise, you'll be having multiple options. And I want to go inside this database, right? So you can go to this query editor and just click on this. So this will give you how do you want to log into this particular SQL editor. So are you going with this Entra ID authentication? If it is Entra ID authentication, you can just continue. Or do you want to give username and password? So if you remember, while creating database and while creating this server, we gave in both ways, I want to log into my SQL server. So that's what we gave that time. Okay, I'm giving this password. Okay, so I'm able to log into my query editor of my database. Okay, so here I'm again, interface is not so great. Oh, interface is not so great. So you just need to minimize this. Happen. Okay. So there is one more thing here. Yeah. So you can minimize that and you can see the tables, what is view, what is stored procedure. Those things we'll discuss later. So inside this, you can see some tables. So they have already created. So if you remember, while creating this server, I have selected one option called sample. So when you say sample, Azure, they have already built some tables. Okay, so you can directly go and use those tables. Okay, so if you are not having these tables, then you have to create on your own. And when you are creating on your own, maybe the relationship between the tables may not be accurate. So you are creating, suppose, some account table or some customer table. So you need to take care of the customers available in the customer table. The same customers should be available in the account table. So that data preparation itself will take you a lot of time. So which is of waste of our time. So that is the reason I am taking the existing tables, which is being provided by your Azure, and I will be practicing on top of these tables. Okay, so if you see, these are the different tables: sales LT dot address dot customer. So that indicates sales LT is the schema inside this particular database. Okay, so this is the database what we have created, and this is the server. And inside this server, I'm having this database. Inside this database, I'm having sales LT is one schema. And inside that, I'm having these tables. And DBO is another schema. Inside the DBO, they have build version, error log, some tables are there. So likewise, you can create your own schema and you can create your own tables. So we'll create our own schema and then we'll create our tables inside that. Okay, we'll see that. So this is how you can be able to log in to your SQL editor. Okay, so Azure database, Azure SQL database, SQL editor. And in the same way, how do you log into this Azure Studio? So even that also we'll see. Let me open duplicate and then I'll go back and I'll show you how to log into Azure Studio. And again, what is Azure Studio? Basically, that is more flexible and at GUI level that is more flexible and it looks similar to your uh, like this, like Oracle SQL Assistant, something like that. I'm just going there. You'll see what does that mean. So this is your database, not server. Database. Inside the database, you can see some window like this, right? So just come down. Just come down. So here you can see open in Visual Studio. Okay. So when you say Visual Studio, it will take you. Okay. So first time, right? While doing this, you have to download Visual Studio so that you'll be having it is simple. It is just next likewise and just install it. So once you install it, maybe I'm just closing this. I have already done that. You can see something like this. Okay, you can see something like this, Azure Data Studio. once you do this, obviously what you need to do, since it is whatever you have done this, right? So you have entered into SQL database from your Azure portal itself. So that is the reason it simply went inside and you are able to see whatever you want. Okay, but here you have to set up, you have to connect to your database first. So how do you connect to that particular database? I'm just opening this database. So there you will be having some details, whatever is required for you. Okay, so I'm just saying new connection. So once you do that new connection, maybe you can see something like this. I'm just deleting all the existing ones. Okay, so connection type, maybe I would like to connect to my SQL database and server. What is the server you want to connect to? So here, if you see, I'm having this server name. So in the database, from here, you can see server name. Just copy this. For everything, right, you can have this copy option. Okay, I have copied this and pasted over here. Okay, and then how do you want to authenticate? Okay, so I want to go with SQL login. So you can go with Microsoft Entra ID as well. So Entra ID in the sense, so this one. Okay, and even you can go with SQL login. So here I'll say my user ID and password. Okay, so remaining things, just leave it. I'll just do connect. Okay, so it got open. Yeah, before going into this, right, maybe it is 10:15. Shall we take a 5 minutes of break? It is 10:15. We'll come back by 10:20. Okay, just 5 minutes break. Is that okay? Okay, I'm hoping it's okay. I'll come back by 10:20. Hello everyone. Yeah, I'm back. So if you see here, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. We have connected to database through this other option, like through this studio, right? So when you look at this studio, right? So this is more comfortable, and I'll go to this databases. So whatever the database we have, this TU trans 123. So this is our database, and inside this I'm having different tables, and maybe I'll try to get this data, maybe select top. So I'm just trying to write some sample query. So what is this? Maybe we'll see that later. So I'm just showing you the GUI. So how it looks. And if you see here, I'm having a table, and what are the different columns inside this, and what are the keys for this particular one, what is the constraints. So likewise, you can see some look and feel. It is much better when compared to other thing. Okay, so if you see here, the same part here, maybe I can write the same thing, select rows. So this will also give you the data. Okay, but look and feel, right? So that is a lot better than this particular one. Show only editors or something like this you'll be having, and you got your data. But if you see here, it is more flexible and see the data in this studio. Okay, so wherever you are comfortable, maybe you can use here or here. That depends on your comfortable level. Okay, so you can use both ways. And before proceeding further, maybe let me tell you what these are. So columns, we know I'm having address is one table. So inside this address, I'm having address ID, some address details in this particular address table. So these are called columns. Okay, so same way, maybe inside the customers, I'll be having columns, something like this. Customer ID, name, style, title, suffix, first name, last name, middle name. So phone number. So likewise, you will be having the columns which represents your table. Okay. And another thing is maybe inside the columns, you can see primary key. Okay. So there is a concept called primary key, foreign key. Okay. I'll tell you the primary key, foreign key. So few minutes back, we have discussed about different tables and relationship between the tables. Okay, so customer will be having accounts or something like that, right? So this primary key, that relationship, they'll build by using this primary key, foreign key. Okay, so customer, inside the customer, maybe I'm having a customer ID as a primary key. That means they will uniquely identify any record inside this particular customer by using this primary key column, that is customer ID. So that means inside the customer table, each customer will be having only one ID. So that should be unique for each customer. So likewise, inside the account, it will be having unique account ID. Maybe you have HDFC bank accounts, right? So the same account will not be provided to any other customer, right? So that is account, and account ID may be customer ID is one primary key inside your customer table, and customer table, and maybe inside the account, I'm having account ID as primary key. Okay, so I have the relationship between this account and customer. So the customer may have multiple accounts. So the same customer may have savings account and also one more account, maybe one more account I have opened in the same bank. So that means here inside my account table, I will be having customer ID column and as well as account ID column. Okay, so account ID will be having some maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, but the customer ID will be 100 and 100. Well, because the same customer, right? So the same customer is having different accounts. So inside this account ID is the primary key. So that is the reason it is unique. And this is called primary key inside your account table. And whatever you are using, customer ID inside your account, that will be become as foreign key. Okay, so that will become as foreign key. So through this primary key and foreign key relationship, you are maintaining the relationship between two different tables. So that's how they maintain the relationship. If you don't understand too much here, go through YouTube and just see what is primary key and what is foreign key. Okay, so you'll get more details there. So that's how they maintain this primary key, foreign key, something like that. And then keys, the keys are nothing but that one, like a primary key. So those things will be, you can see over here. And then, yeah, if you see here, right? Yeah, the only primary key here. You will be having one more concept called constraints. Constraints in the sense, you will be having multiple constraints. That is, primary key is called one constraint. Unique is another constraint. Check constraint. Primary key, unique, null constraint. Okay, so constraint in the sense, in English word, some condition. Okay, so you have created your customer table, or yeah, customer table, and inside this I'm having customer ID, um, customer address, and maybe I'm just writing some column names just to explain you this. Okay, so maybe it may not be inside available inside your actual table, but I'm just explaining you amount and something like address or region. Okay, something like this. So inside this customer table, while creating this, my expectation is this customer ID should be unique. Okay, unique in the sense, it should be primary key. Okay, so what do you mean? What is the difference between primary key and unique key is your primary key, it should not be repeated. That means it should be unique and as well as not null. Not null. Null in the sense, nothing. It's not defined. So whatever the customer ID I am assigning to any customer, it should be unique and as well as it should not be null. Okay, that means you have to assign something. So if that is the case, that is called primary key. So unique is something, it's a part of, like a subset of your primary key, and it will whatever the column, maybe some column, I made this as a unique column. So that means this column I'm expecting it should be unique. Okay, it should not be repeated, but it may have null as well. It may consider null. Okay, so that is the difference between these two. And then check constraint. Check is something, suppose I'm taking check null. Yeah, maybe instead of this, maybe I can say take gender. So gender inside my customer table, I'm expecting this gender should be either male or female. Okay, so likewise, I'll create my gender as a check constraint on this particular table. So whenever you have some data from your OLTP systems, and you have transformed your data, and you are trying to load this particular data into your customer table. And inside this particular one, while doing this, maybe you have customer ID, customer address, as I mentioned, gender, and then region, and maybe some other column, right? So for this, I have gender some X. So instead of F and M, okay, so one record I got X. So when you define check constraint on this particular column in this particular table, and when you try to insert the data into this particular table, it will throw you an error. It will throw you an error saying that this particular column, I'm expecting only either M or F, but I got X. So I'm going to avoid this particular record, and that will throw you an error. So same way, suppose I am doing my business in APAC region, Asia Pacific region, and suppose um, European region. Okay, so whatever the data I'm getting and whatever the data I'm trying to insert into my table, I'm expecting this region should be either APAC or Euro. If it is having maybe 100 million records, but in that 100 million records, this column should have only either APAC or Euro, so nothing else. So if that is your business condition, then you have to define this region as check constraint with APAC or Euro, and you have to say that. Okay, so that while inserting, it will check this constraint and it will throw you an error if it is not inside this particular two values. So that is how you need to define this check constraint. Constraint is, as I mentioned, right? It's a condition. You have created your table and you are associating with some conditions. So if your data is meeting with that expectation, meeting with that conditions, then only insert into your table. Otherwise, just throw you an error. That's all. Okay. So likewise, you'll be having primary key, unique, check, and null constraint. So null constraint in the sense, maybe I'm having some email ID as one column. And this email ID, I'm always expecting a value. So I'm always expecting something should be available inside this email. So then it will be defined as not null. So this is called null constraint. So likewise, you'll be defining some constraints on your table. So we'll be creating all this. Everything will be designed by your architects, and this will be created by your DBAs. So we'll be creating all these tables, constraints, everything will be created by your DBS. So our part is through code will create some file or some data, and this data will load into your tables. So this is our part, not designing or creation of all these things. So that will be taken care by different teams. So our part as a data engineer is through code. Maybe we will be extracting the data from OLTP systems, and we will be generating some file or generating some intermediate data, and that data we will be loading into these tables. So while loading, maybe you got some error. What that error? You need to understand that error, right? So to understand that error, maybe it is throwing you an error saying check constraint got failed on this particular table on this particular column. Then you need to understand what do you mean by check constraint. Okay, so then you can go to this particular table and you can see what are the constraints defined on this particular table and whether this has been satisfying by your data or not. If it is not, why is this coming something like this? Suppose email ID, I'm expecting not null. So email ID somehow for 100 records, you got nulls. So what you need to do? Maybe are you generating this email ID in your code? Generating in the sense you are writing some logic to derive this particular email ID inside your code, or directly you are extracting from source. So is it directly starting from your source? You will see. If it is directly starting from your source, so why these 100 records are not having proper data from your source? Then you will go back and talk to your source systems. Okay. Source systems, and we'll ask why these 100 records are not populating properly. And we'll ask them to fix that issue and provide the source data again to us. And then we reprocess it, and then we will load into our target system. So this is some typical simple flow when you're talking about some business use case. How do you get it from your source system and then process it? Okay, so something like that. So this is about constraints. So constraints will be defined. Triggers are something like you have created some stored procedures. So we'll see what is stored procedures, and of course we'll not see triggers in your SQL, but you'll get to know what is trigger in ADF. Inside the ADF, we'll be creating triggers. Okay, so triggers are something I have created a stored procedure. Stored procedure in SQL is, suppose you are having some Python. Okay, so inside the Python, you will be writing some code by using some commands. You'll be writing your code. Okay, suppose if it is Unix, you'll be writing some shell script by using some commands. Okay, so this is uh, this is what you call some program what you are writing in this particular programming languages. So same way in SQL point of view, if you want to write some logic, so logic in the sense maybe I want to create some variables. I want to do some looping concept. I want to write some if logic. So then you can't perform inside the simple SQL queries inside the SQL structured query language. This is structured query language. You're just selecting something. Okay, we'll see what exactly this is, but I'm just trying to explain. So you can see SQL is a simple structured query language where you'll be extracting the data from your tables, and few manipulations, maybe update, delete, those things can be done. But you can't write some logic, something like this. You can't define variables. You can't define, like you can't write some loop condition, if conditions, all those things. So if you want to perform these things in database level, inside the database level, then you have to write stored procedures. So inside the stored procedure, you can be able to write this. So once you create the stored procedures, we'll see how to create the stored procedure. It is required for us in ADF. We'll be creating stored procedures and we'll be calling stored procedures from ADF pipelines. So stored procedures, once you do that, right, you need to schedule it. Maybe you need to schedule or something else. Maybe we call this as event-based triggers. So event-based triggers in the sense, maybe once some data is ready, I just go something like this, right? Maybe you have to start working. Okay, so just a simple real-time example. You need to start working. There are two instances. One, I want to start work by 5 a.m. every day. 5 a.m. every day, I want to start. And in some cases, right, I want to start my work whenever I heard some whistle from my friend. Okay, so if this is the case, maybe if it is 5 a.m., that is called scheduling. So at that particular scheduled time, you have to do that. And I want to execute something at a particular point of time, that is scheduled picker. Okay, and this is when somebody whistles, then only I need to start some action. I need to start my work. So that is called event-based trigger. So what is the event here? Whistling. So whistling is event. So once that is done, I want to start my work. So same way, to execute this, maybe I need to see some data should be arrived. So whenever this is arrived, whenever some event occurs, then I need to execute the store procedure. So likewise, you'll be having triggers. So if you're not understanding, don't worry. We'll discuss in ADF about these triggers. And indexes are something which will improve the performance of your SQL. Why I'm saying performance, right? So sometimes to write this query and to get this data. So here, once I execute, maybe it is taking some fraction of seconds to get your data. But sometimes in your actual real-time data, once you execute it, maybe it may take 1 or 2 hours of time to get the data, because there you will be having thousands of billions of records in your actual tables. Okay, so when you write this to fetch the data, it will take a lot of time if you are not organized. Okay, say you have one building, same library concept. You have your building, and inside the building you have 10,000 books. So inside the 10,000 books, you just pour that 10,000 books in different racks without organizing, without having anything, and you want to search for a book. Just imagine, definitely it will take a lot of time. If you know the computer programming languages are at a particular location, and inside that maybe some DBMS related books in a particular rack, then straight away you can go there and you can see that. Same in books as well, right? If you have some 1,000 pages book, in the initial you'll be having index. This topic at page number 5. This topic is at page number 50. So that is index. The same concept here as well. So instead of just going inside this particular table and extract the data, okay, so this will not know. And if you do not know that index inside your page, inside your book, right? And you want to search for something and assume that that book is having 1,000 pages or 10,000 pages. And if you want to see a particular word or particular sentence or particular topic, and if you want to see right from first page until 10,000 pages, it will take hell lot of time. Your purpose is something. Your purpose may solve in 1 minute of time, but that index, that like finding out where exactly that is, that may take maybe 5 hours or 10 hours of time. Okay, same way, without index, it is very performance wise, it is very difficult to maintain. Okay, so that's where this indexes comes into picture. We will discuss again. We have index discussion in SQL. We'll be discussing it again. Okay, so that is about some concepts about your database. Any questions so far for me? Okay, and let us jump into the actual sequel. So whatever discussed so far, I usually take this discussion about 10-15 minutes, but now it took almost 1.5 hours. Yeah. So SQL basically you can divide the commands or clauses. You can call that as commands or clauses or statements, whatever you call. Those clauses they at high level they divided into 3-4 different categories. Okay, so that is DDL, DML, DQL, TCL. So some other things. Okay, so why I'm saying some other things, that is not required for us. Okay, so if you want, you can explore it. Why? Because I have learned and I have studied, I have practiced uh, tens of times, but I don't remember. Why? Because I'm not using it. Okay, so here inside the DDL, it is called data definition language. DML, data manipulation language, and DQL is data query language, or you can call it as DRL as well. Some guys they call it as DRL, data retrieval language as well. So coming to DDL, it's a data definition language. That means uh, if you want to create, if you want to apply some definition level, maybe you want to alter or you want to create your objects, maybe you want to create your databases, schemas, whatever you have seen, triggers. So if you want to perform something in terms of the definition level, then you will be using this DDL. Okay, so inside this we'll be having multiple statements, multiple clauses. That is create, alter, drop, truncate. So this comes under this DDL. So these things, right? Most of the times we will not be having access to it. So you will not be able to create database. You will not be able to create users, roles. So you will not be having access to it. Even alter also, we will not be having access to alter your definition of your objects. So, and also drop and truncate, sometimes we'll be having access to it. Why we will be having, we'll see. So by using create statement, you can be able to perform these many create operations. So if you want to create database, this is the statement, create database, and the syntax, if you want syntax, right, just use ChatGPT. Don't buy heart it. It is simple statement only, but still create database examples. So create database name. That's all. Okay, so that's how you can create your high level database just by using this. Maybe let me create a database. Okay, so the database is I'll be creating some database and tables, which is we'll be using this in ADF. So with that, I'm just creating those databases. Okay. So should we create database table schemas? No, I'm not going to create database because I'm going to use the same thing. I don't want to confuse. Okay. I don't want to mess up the things. Okay. I'll be using the same database, but I'll be creating different schema. Okay. So instead of the same schema. So if you see here, right, I'm see. If you see here, right, this is my schema. If you see sales LT is one schema. So instead of that, I'll be using different schema for my Azure Data Factory. Okay, so maybe I'll be creating this schema, which is create schema, LTX schema. This is my schema name. I'm just creating this schema. So that means this schema got created. So this means this got successful. Okay. So that is how I have just created the schema. So same way I would like to create a table. So to create the table, right? So it's not so simple like your database or schema. So table, when you are creating table, you need to create what is your table and what are the columns you are expecting inside the table. So what is your table name and what are the columns you are expecting inside this particular table, and what columns, in the sense inside the columns you need to specify what is the column name and what is the data type of that column and whether it is nullable column or not. Nullable in the sense when you say nullable, that particular column will accept nulls. Okay, so these things you have to specify when you define your table. Maybe let me create a table. Again, the table I'll be taking from this one. So instead of creating something else. I want to create this table. I want to create this table. Analytics schema. So whatever we have created this schema now, inside that I would like to create a control table. So in this actually I have created something while explaining. I would have. Okay, no problem. I guess let it be. So I would like to create this particular table, control table. Table name is control table, and these are the columns. So source table, that is one column name, and the data type of this is varchar 50. That means it's a string and it's a nullable. Source database name, so that is another column name, and that is also nullable. So likewise, I've created multiple columns, okay, inside this. And why I have created this, I'll explain you during our ingestion framework inside my ADF. Okay. And here what we have given, right? So this is a comment. So whatever is followed after hyphen, that will become as comment. Okay. So if it is not there, right, it will throw you an error. It will throw you an error when I execute this. Okay. So when I say this, that will be considered as a commented line. So now I'm able to create my table. So I have created my table. Okay, I have created my table just like this. If you see, control table has come into picture now. So I want to see the data inside this particular table. Of course, we will not be having any data because we just created the table, but we do not have any data inside that particular table. And if you want to see the data, and if I want to insert the data into that particular table, so that you can do that by using insert statement. Okay. So that you can do by using insert statement. Okay. So just for practice purpose, we will be doing insert into the table by using this insert statement. But in your actual projects, how do you insert the data into the table? Through coding. Through coding, we'll extract the data and we'll put the data into my table. Okay, so how do we do this? Maybe through ADF and through Azure Databricks, we'll do that. We'll try to push the data through code into the tables. Okay, so that we'll see. But here, just for practice purpose, and you just need to know what is insert statement. So that you can do that something like this. Maybe I will insert the relevant data only. I don't want to insert anything else. Yeah, if you see insert into, let me copy this. Insert into table values, and this is the column names. Column names inside my table. So for these columns, sorry, for the columns, I want to insert this particular data. So simply I can execute it. So this will give you one record got inserted. Now if I go back and if I execute my control table select, I can be able to see whatever the data has been inserted into my table. Okay, so if you see, I'm able to see my data from that particular table, whatever I have inserted. Okay, so likewise, maybe you can do this insert. Okay, and you can see the data inside this. One row got affected, and if you see now, I can be able to see two records inside that particular table. So this is how you can be able to do that insertion. Okay. Yeah. So that is create table and inserting the data into the table. So the way we have created table, right? We can be able to create these objects by using your create statement. Create view, we can create view. We'll be doing that down the line. And create index, we'll be creating index. We'll be creating procedure. So we'll be practicing all these things. Okay. We'll not be creating trigger, user, or role. So trigger, as I mentioned, to execute your store procedure, so we'll be creating triggers. And this is something like the way we have seen Microsoft Entra ID in your Azure, right? So even in database, if somebody maybe as a employee, right, you have to use as a resource, you have to use some SQL database. First of all, the administrator has to create as a user. You as a user, you are going to interact, right? So first of all, user has to be created. That will be done by this create user. And similarly, in ADF, we have discussed authentication, authorization, what are the different roles. So everybody can't go and everybody can't write queries on all the tables. So there should be some restriction. So if you belong to some data management team, you are eligible only to that particular table information. So that is how you can create these roles, and based on these roles to the users, they can be able to perform certain operations. So these things will be taken care by your administrator, the database administrators. Okay, so like this, you can create your tables, schemas, or whatever you want. You can be able to do that by using this create statement. Okay, so same way, this is done. After this, maybe down the line, maybe after few months, I want to alter maybe the table name or view name, whatever I have given. So that is not accurate. I want to change the names. Okay, then you can simply use this alter. Alter, change your table name or schema name, and inside the table I have defined some columns. I want to rename those columns, or I want to drop the columns inside my table, or I want to change that. That's what rename is. and I want to add new columns to my table, existing column. So if that is the case, that means you are going to change the definition of your table. Okay, so that you can do by using this alter meant for that. Okay, so that is about alter. Maybe you can create some tables and try to do all these things on top of your tables. And we have two more things, that is drop and truncate. Suppose you have created something. So you have created database, you have created index, you have created triggers, and you want to drop them. Okay, I don't want this table, or I don't want this schema going forward. I just want to drop. Then simply you can use this drop statement. Maybe I will use drop this one. That's all. You can't see this anymore. You can't see this anymore, but because drop in the sense it will delete your entire table. There is no table name or there is no data inside this particular table. Simple. Okay, so that is drop. Here I just showed you drop table. So same way you can do drop database name, drop schema name, drop view name, drop index name. So whatever you have done create. So the same way on all this you can be able to apply this drop. So if I want to drop some index on a particular table, I can use drop index and index name. So likewise you can apply this drop on top of any object. Okay, so same way you'll be having a truncate. Maybe I'll let you know this in the next session. I'll stop here. Okay, truncate, delete, all these things maybe we'll discuss in our next session. Next session will be on next Saturday. Okay, so remember that. So meanwhile, you just need to practice and don't think like why 1 week gap. Let it be. Okay, well, because after learning, maybe you need to remember this months and years. Okay, if you get one week gap, don't worry, you have to remember. Okay, so we will see this on next Saturday again. Any questions for me before stopping for today? Actually, I need to cover all this part, but I couldn't able to. Any questions for me? Yeah, if not, maybe I'll stop here and we'll see on Monday for